Welcome back. We are in chapter 9. This is part 2, and we are going to wrap up this section on computer network and internet security. And we're going to start off this part with computer sabotage. Now, sabotage comes from Dutch workers in centuries past who were unhappy with their working conditions, taking their shoes, which were called sabots, and throwing them into the industrial machine, breaking the machine. And that's where we get sabotage from. That's a little tidbit for you. Won't be on the test, but impress your friends with that story. Computer sabotage is just that, using some type of mechanism or software or some type of creative destructive force to damage a computer system. And here we're looking specifically at, like a computer virus or denial of service attacks. I think we talked about that in one of the previous chapters. But some different ways that we can accomplish this are through those two or something called a botnet. Now, botnet is two things put together. One is a bot, which is kind of a robot or a computer controlled by a hacker. And that together with a group of bots is a botnet. And that's where these computers work together to attack one computer in a coordinated fashion. Now, some other things that are used are bothers. I cannot say that very well. Bot herders, there it is. And they use computers that they've either taken over or built themselves to send this spam, to launch attacks, to spread malware. So when we're talking about botnets or botnet or bot herders, I still have a hard time with that word. We're talking about one person coordinating other machines to do something malicious to a target. We can also see that with something called malware. Now, malware is where someone has written software to perform destructive acts on a specific computer. Now, we've got interesting names. A logic bomb. A logic bomb is where if you do a certain number of activities in a row or make a certain group of decisions, it will trigger this piece of malware to do something destructive to your computer. Now, instead of it being driven or triggered by logic or events, it can also be triggered by time, which is a time bomb. And, both of these are very self-explanatory, but the thing you should think about when it comes to this is that these things were written for a specific purpose. There was one television show called FBI Files, and on one of the episodes, a man was very unhappy with the way he was released from employment, and he took something very benign that looked like a system maintenance script and used it to delete the entire contents of the company's hard drive. And just as unethical as that sounds, it's also illegal to do stuff like that. So malware is considered unethical, of course, but it's also considered illegal. So any type of software that you write or that is created to damage, destroy, or to do an unintended disservice to a computer system is illegal. And that's kind of one of the sabotage uh, things out there. We can also look at two more called viruses and worms. Computer viruses at this point you've probably have heard this term a lot in your life. So it's not something I want to go into too much. But a computer virus is just like a human virus. It disrupts the normal operation of a computer system and can cause harm, just like the code disrupts the normal operation of your body and can cause harm. Now, the difference between a virus and a worm is that a virus is something that is downloaded without you knowing it. It doesn't really spread a whole lot, but it can cause some damage. Versus a worm is, in essence, a virus or some malware that is designed to spread, which is actively jumping from one computer system to another. And this is why unsolicited emails can cause such a problem. Now, to visualize this, we can look at this diagram here, where a computer gets a virus, it gets on the internet by sending emails. A great example of this is someone really loves how intuitive their cat is. They send out an email to all their friends about how intuitive their cat is. and then all of their friends receive the virus. One thinks the picture or video is so compelling, they put it on the thumb drive and they give it to someone else. So this is how these things spread. And the issue with these computer viruses is that every virus will have an opportunity to go on the internet undetected. Because the way that people write virus detection software is based on the viruses that already exist. So again, what we're talking about is when you're taking these precautions, saying you have a piece of software that protects you is not necessarily enough. You also have to update that piece of software over and over and over to make sure that it really is enough. Okay? Now we have something called a Trojan horse. This is when software looks like it does one thing but actually does something else. To be honest, the biggest perpetrators in this particular area are software that look like virus detection tools. If you go to a website and it says virus detected on your computer when you're on a website, it's likely that that is a Trojan horse that will infect your computer. So the best thing to do is not to worry about that, not to use it, and even here it says that this is called rogue antivirus programs or scareware or ransomware, where they are going to lock up your computer until you buy the software. But, if something tells you you have a virus, do not download it. Do not click on that page. Close out the browser and then run your security software. Now, there's some other things in computer sabotage. There's data program and website alteration. There's damaging data on websites. There's denial of service. There's mobile malware. All those things are important, and I need you to look at them each in the book, but we're not going to spend any time on them in the lecture, okay? What we're going to jump directly into is security software. Because what we need to do is kind of understand what software is out there to protect us from these hazards on the internet, and what can we use to make sure that we're not, our computing efforts are not destroyed by these different types of attacks. The first thing you're probably aware of is antivirus software. This is what they give you a 6-month subscription every time you buy a computer from Best Buy, okay? It's usually based on computer viruses that already exist, and it can detect what's going on. It can help you be safe, and a lot of times these come in a suite of software, so it's not just the antivirus, but it's also other things that download into your browser, things that quarantine suspicious files, and stuff that's set to run on a regular basis to keep your general level of computing at a more protected level, okay? There are also other security things that can help, controlling access to computers and networks. The best thing you can do is when your little cousin comes to visit you for the holidays, or your niece and nephew, don't let them use your computer, and that will save you from probably 80% of the issues you'll have in terms of getting viruses off of your machine. So controlling access to the machine itself is a good way to protect against computer sabotage. And then finally, make sure that you have systems out there, if you're running a business or a small website, to protect against denial of service attacks. There's one group of software called Cloudflare, and what it does is it just makes sure that no one can spoof or trick a computer network into thinking that it is being accessed a lot and creating one of those denial of service attacks. And you can see here what they do is they make sure that all these other different attackers or whatever are not bottlenecking a website. So they send everything through a cloud that filters out the bad folks from the good folks and only let the good people in. So this is an example of where you can use kind of a piece of intermediary software, a go-between, to protect your computer system from hackers, okay? So let's take a look at some things that are trending, and then we'll move on to different types of online theft and crimes, all right? So in the trend box today, we're looking at fingerprint readers. Now, fingerprint readers used to be something that was very unique or hard to visualize, but for the most part, In this day and age, a lot of us have this on our phone. If you've got an Apple phone, it's called Touch ID. It's the home button now. If you have a Samsung phone, it's right beneath the home section, the actual button itself, that little ring. Those are fingerprint readers, and they use biometrics. So your fingerprint is a biometric, and it will use that to grant access or authentication in a lot of different ways. Something else that is becoming popular is digital tattoos. I don't know how realistic this is. You can certainly use it in very sensitive environments. It is unlikely you are going to see me with a digital tattoo, but hey, if you're a tattoo type of guy or gal, this might be a way to help you add some security to your computing platforms. And then the last one is kind of authenticated pills. I don't know that I have really seen this do a whole lot, but that's the thing about predicting the future, is that what is today's bleeding edge of technology becomes tomorrow's everyday thing that no one's really worried about. So we've taken a look at the trim box. Let's go on a little bit to theft online, okay? Now there's something called .con where someone can kind of con you into thinking that the internet is doing one thing that it's not. There's actually an internet crime complaint center that can help you turn these people in if you've been conned online. And there's even data or information theft. Those things I'll leave to you in the book. But what we're going to spend some time on is identity theft, phishing, social networking hacks, farming, and just other internet scams, okay? So identity theft, you know what that is. It's when someone steals your identity and they use your identity to get hold of goods and favors that they would normally have to pay for, but they used your good name or your credit to accomplish that for them, okay? How do they get it? They get it through stealing documents, stealing web information, capturing your keystrokes, the whole thing, whole kit and caboodle. And now something big is hacking into companies. And you shop at Target, they don't actually break into your computer, they break into Target's computer and get your credit card information from there. So what does this look like? Well, it begins with them obtaining some information about you. Discarded mail, this is paper mail, employee records, receipts, that type of stuff. Then they use the information from that discarded mail to make purchases online. And then how do you find out about it? You find out about it when they begin to start foreclosure proceedings on a home you never bought, or when your credit is completely destroyed and you are trying your best to understand what's going on, okay? Now, there are some ways to protect yourself here. I'm going to tell you the first and best thing you can do is that when you get mail to your physical address, and it has of course it has your address on it, but it also has information that can be used to obtain fraudulent things. A good example are those pre-screened credit card applications. The best thing to do is to shred it. Now, if you don't have a shredder, that's not a good excuse. You need to go to Staples, Walmart, whatever, save up $30. Don't buy the newest iPhone just yet. Take $30 and go buy a shredder. You'll thank yourself later, because if you shred this information, that is going to dramatically reduce the risk of you becoming a victim of identity theft. Most thieves are equally as lazy as they are unethical, and they're not going to work tirelessly to get a hold of your information when they can get the information from your neighbor who's not shredding their documents. So take some moments, shred this stuff up, and make yourself a whole lot safer. Okay? Now let's talk about some digital things to be aware of. First one is phishing. Now, phishing is where you get an email from a company that, looks real, but is not real. And I'm going to try my best to see if I can find one of these to post up later. But, a good place that this happens is in our email. So here's a great example. I open up an email, I'm a PayPal user, open up an email that is supposedly from PayPal. Uh, the the subject line is PayPal account limited. Now that's ridiculous. Then it says, please confirm your PayPal debit master account card to remove your account limitation. Now, here's something that you may not know. All Visas and MasterCards start off with the same 4 digits for personal accounts. So if you're not really reading, you could read this and think, you know what? That's what my MasterCard starts off with. Now, international accounts, they have a different 4 digit code, but if I'm phishing, if I'm trying to steal some information, I can just throw this out there and catch some folks, all right? Then it tells me to log into my PayPal account. Now, if I'm not paying attention, I see here it says PayPal account, and this says PayPal login, then this says PPL login out, and that looks legit. But we talked earlier about top level domains and all that stuff. And is this right here, this section 4007.cttsd.com, is that PayPal? And the answer is absolutely not. So this is phishing. This is impersonating something that should be legit, but it is not. And something else they do here, which is very clever, is they let you know you've only got so much time to respond. You've got to do this now. And this is the other portion of phishing, where they're going to try to create some urgency. So you're not paying attention and you're not making a good decision. So this is what phishing looks like, okay? Now, if phishing is a spoofed email, spear phishing is one that's even more personalized. So it's not just that they are trying to get you to not pay attention and click and just fill out information. They're going to put things that are related to you specifically, like your name in the email, and then that makes it more believable. Well, of course, it must really be PayPal because it says my name. Or they may use information from your social media. So, happy birthday, Robert. They got that from my social media. Your best friend, Gerald, which is the name of one of my friends, said that you should look at this because you'd really like it. So now they're using his credibility to get me to engage in, reckless behavior. So these three are big ones. And it starts with identity theft. Identity theft is something where they steal your identity and they can get some information about you. Once they have that information about you, they don't necessarily have to open a credit card. They can use these phishing techniques to gain your trust. That's what makes it a confidence job. That's what con is short for, a confidence job. They can get your confidence, and then they can use that to exploit you online, okay? Now, that's phishing. Farming is a little different. Farming is where someone creates a duplicate website of a website that you think, something you trust, and then they use that website to get you to log in, put your information in there, and give away your identity. It's very similar to phishing, but instead of them reaching out for you, it is just them taking over a website that you trust. And then drive-by is where they're doing this by actually stealing the DNS server. And this is domain name server. And when these things are hacked, it's very difficult for the end user to know that they are a victim of fraud. Okay? So you have got to be very careful in how you're doing this and making sure that you're paying attention to the site that you're on and noticing subtle differences between the site that you're on and the site that may be kind of a .confidence. All right. There are a couple different things here. Some internet scams that are out there, online auction fraud. That'd be someone trying to impersonate eBay, or when you order something from a website and you're supposed to get a jacket and they send you a button with thread on it. That is kind of a fraud. There are other cons, pyramid scams, work at home. The Nigerian letter fraud, in essence, is where, and I'll show you an example of this as well. Now, this is one I've recently received. It's not necessarily the Nigerian letter fraud, but this one is really ridiculous. I get a letter from someone whom I've never heard. And if you see the top level domain, this is someone in England, someone I've never spoken with. And they're telling me how they're looking for a relationship. Well, I've been happily married for 13 years. And I've been with my wife for 18 years now in terms of marriage and dating. So I'm definitely not on the internet seeking out this type of stuff. And then it sends me this stuff, looking for some type of man that's very poorly written, so this individual can be mega fruitful and inspired. And then look at this domain name here. I mean, really, this is really unimpressive. You know, I would never click on something that has this combination of letters because it's definitely a scam. And you know, with this or the Nigerian letter, what you do is once you click here, it's going to ask you for some credit card information, or it's going to take you to a website that's going to put something on your machine that they could then blackmail you or use to embarrass you. So this type of stuff you should automatically send to spam. And with this particular message, I did forward it. You can see begin forwarded message. And the place that I forwarded to was spam reports. Now, if you don't know what this is, I'll show it to you. Spam reports is someplace you can send all the spam you get from WKU, and you just want to send it to spam@wku.edu. And once you send it there, they report it, they mark it, and then they'll keep you from getting that particular type of spam again. Okay, so just be cognizant of that. You may have to use your spam folder, your junk folder, move it to junk. But if you have an opportunity to move that stuff to junk, do it, and that will help you from receiving it in the future. So fake job site postings. I run a job site at work, and we do our best to screen these fake job postings. But we get about, out of this 800 or 900 we come across legitimate job postings, about 10 make it through every year. And we take diligent action to get rid of those as soon as they do make it through. But it's something you have to be aware of, okay? Some things that can help you protect you against this stuff. We talked about some of these. Shred documents that contain sensitive information. Don't give out your personal information. Actually check your credit reports yearly. You get 3 free ones a year at annualcreditreport.com, and I can even show you that. Give me 1 second here. And I take it back. It's actual annualcreditreport.com. You click there, and this is from the Federal Trade Commission. And then once you go here, you can put in some information and get a copy of your credit report. It won't give you your credit score, but that's not what we're looking for. We're looking to make sure that all the accounts on your credit report are accounts that you know and expect to be there. If there's one that you do not expect to be there, then that means you may have been a victim of identity theft. Okay? So pay attention to that stuff. And then shred documents, we talked about that. And then watch your bills. Make sure everything that comes to you, it's coming where you expect it to come from, and you're the only person taking action on it. There are tools to help you work with phishing. Mozilla Firefox, a lot of times if you go to a website that it believes is a fraudulent website, it will put up a warning to alert you. There are even sites like this, Stop Badware, where you can report a fake or erroneous website. It tells you a little bit about what badware is, and even lets you know how many URLs that have been blacklisted. And if you've got a browser that utilizes this database, anything that shows up here will automatically be blocked. And if you're wondering how to get to this site, it is just stopbadware.org. Okay, so we have looked at quite a bit of information here. What we're going to do is jump forward to some financial alerts. I want you to, there are some good figures in the book. Figure 922 it is, about phishing an email, what to expect, how to know a fake one when you see it. There's another one in figure 923 to let you know how to protect yourself from this type of theft. I want you to become familiar with this and make sure you are protecting yourself. What I would like to talk to you a little bit about is cyberbullying, okay? Now, there's some more stuff on digital signatures, understand that, and there's some other stuff on online auction fraud, understand that, but let's get into cyberbullying, okay? Now, cyberbullying is something we think about for small children, but as students, even as professionals, sometimes you can be the victim of what is considered cyberbullying just on an adult level. Now, what is it? It's basically described by sending harassing emails or making harassing social networking posts, things like that. Half of all teenagers are affected by this. But even as an adult, you can kind of be the victim of cyber harassment. Something you should be aware of is that there may not necessarily be a law in place to protect you, depending on where you live, but you can use the online tools to help you mitigate this. If someone is constantly harassing you on online, report them using the reporting tools and make sure that you're not sharing any part of your personal information on those social networking sites to where they would know whether or not they could catch you alone or physically harm you. So if we're thinking about cyber stalking, here it is, repeated threats or harassing behavior on email or internet. And it looks like every state has made it illegal to some extent. So do not be a victim of cyber stalking just because you feel like you have no other recourse. If you feel as if someone is harassing you online, keep good documentation of the harassment they've done to you. Take screenshots, keep those emails, put together a document, and take it to your local authorities. All right. The next thing is online pornography. Anything involving someone under the age of 18 is considered child pornography. And that even means if you are 17 years old and you take a picture of yourself, you have just involved yourself in child pornography. So make sure that you're not engaging in this stuff. And if you find someone who is, I would suggest that you report them to the correct authorities. Okay. And to go a little bit further, to be an adult online, you should still take some safety precautions. Be discreet. Use gender neutral names or identifying information. That way people don't know who you are. I encourage you not to reveal personal information. Now, of course, Facebook encourages you to do the complete opposite. And then I also encourage you to take your personal information off the internet if it is there. Okay? And something you should know is that it is not difficult for someone to put together a complete profile of you based on your social media presence. Here is a website called Spokeo. And, I'm just going to do a search for someone we all are aware of. Let's do Gary Ransdell. He is our president. And, you can come to the site, click it in, and then it'll give you options to find all the different Gary Ransdells. And it looks like here's one right here. And then once we click, well, look at this. We've got all types of phone numbers. Here's a whole bunch of addresses. Here's the family members. Here's historical records. All this stuff someone can buy to have access to people's information, okay? And I encourage you to go to Spokeo.com and search for yourself to see if you can see this information about you. Now, once you've done that search, I would also encourage you to see if you can get your name removed from there. I'm going to do a search of myself. Here's Kentucky. And you can already see I live in Bowling Green, but there's not a result for Bowling Green, Kentucky. And that's because a couple years ago, when teaching this class, I went ahead and removed myself from here. Now, there are instances on here for my father. He is 65 or apparently 70, so they don't really know his exact age. But I encourage you to remove yourself from these sites. These are called social media aggregators, okay? Now, and the way to do that, I've kind of expanded my screen a little bit, is we want to go to About, and then you would want to go to Privacy, and then it is showing how it makes your particular page. Let me get this inside of the window where you can see. And it, spoke how your listing is made. And these graphics make it seem so benign. But right down here at the bottom is an opt-out form. And that's what you want to do. You want to go to sites like Spokeo or other aggregators, find your profile, paste it in here, put an email, and say, remove this listing. and you will increase your security again by magnitudes just by getting your information out of these sites. I would much rather someone try to hunt me down on all the different social media sites instead of just going to one, clicking a button, and having all my information. So, in a nutshell, let's summarize what we're doing here. You should be concerned about network and internet security. You should be cognizant of what systems you have access to and you do not have access to. And you should protect people who are not authorized to have your access from having your access. You do that by being aware of what systems people use to sabotage computers, protecting yourself against those things, and being savvy enough not to be a victim of online theft or online fraud or confidence jobs. Okay? And then finally, do not be a victim of cyberbullying, cyberstalking, or any of that stuff. You make sure that you are not letting people treat you the wrong way, whether it's digital or not. That's the end of chapter 9. Goodbye.